Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Rabbi Penny Hackenbrock. I'm the senior rabbi, that's the minister at Woodside Park Synagogue in northwest London. And I am honored to have been asked to share a few thoughts with you today. I'd like to thank Adam for arranging this and to welcome all the students from Mount Kelly School. It's truly a privilege to be with you, even if it is just virtually. Maybe one day we'll be able to meet you in person. I have to say, I was very impressed to hear that your school is welcoming the opportunity to hear differing perspectives of the current conflict. So often, especially in the current climate, we're hearing more and more about people wanting to shut down any type of dialogue, any type of conversation, any differing perspectives to themselves, preferring sound bites and dramatic, shocking war images, which they feel will make compelling viewing on social media. And of course, all that does is increase the tension and the hatred, and rather than solve or help the conflict and crisis, it just perpetuates and fuels it. So just by way of introduction, so I've been the rabbi of my community, which has 900 families, 1,400 members, for some, I think it's 12 years now. Before that, I was 5 years in Glasgow, Scotland, and I've always been involved in interfaith work, even when I was the rabbi in Scotland. And one amusing story, I'm very passionate about football, and I have a passion for playing and for talking about it non-stop. And I was asked on one occasion to give a talk, which was an interfaith talk, Kick Racism Out of Football. It was at Hampden Park. It was a great honor to be there. And they took 4 different groups of kids, one from the Jewish faith, one from the Muslim faith, one from the Catholic faith, and one from the Protestant faith. And the idea was that I give a talk and then everyone would be able to play football together. Well, everything seemed to be going well. And then all of a sudden, to my amazement, the Jews and the Muslim kids were happy to play together, but the old firm rivalry between Celtic and Rangers and Catholic and Protestants was so strong that they refused to mix or to play football together. And what that showed me is, firstly, that the rivalry between Rangers and Celtic was even deeper and greater than any faith. But secondly, it also showed me that there was hope and optimism that we can put aside the differences between the Jewish and the Muslim communities, and it is possible to focus our attention on what we have in common rather than accentuate what we have that divides us. So I'm going to deal with a few questions. I should make it clear, I'm not a politician, and I'm not a spokesperson. I was born, brought up in London. I'm 4th generation living in Great Britain. So, but obviously, being Jewish, I have a great pride in the Jewish homeland of Israel. And I'll share you a few perspectives. Let me make it clear and put all my cards on the table from the outset. Israel is like any other country. It's a normal country. It's a democracy. There are many achievements, many great accomplishments that I am tremendously proud of, but it's not perfect. And there are many things and many policies of the government, of the prime minister, which I do not agree with, and many other Jewish people don't agree with. Having said that, there's many things that we do see eye to eye. That's the nature of a free speech and a democracy. But let me explain to you just a bit about the way we see Israel's right to live in the land of Israel, okay? The promised land, as we call it. And really, the origins of our connection and our association with the land go way, way back. You have to go back to the Bible. And in fact, over 3,300 years ago, we were promised the land, and then eventually Joshua who took over from Moses, led the 12 tribes of Israel, that's the entirety of the Jewish people, into the land of what was called as Canaan then, and they established themselves in the land, 12 tribes, and they built a temple and settled the capital, became Jerusalem, etc. So how is it that we ended up where we weren't in the land if we were there 3,300 years ago? Well, the answer is that Israel, like so much of the world, there were empires that would take over so much of the world, many countries, and they always made a beeline for the land of Israel. And therefore, firstly, the Babylonians kicked us out and exiled us. Then there was the Greeks, the Persians, the Romans, the Byzantines, the Ottomans, and the British eventually were the last empire that were ruling in Israel, in Palestine, as they called it. So we believe that the same way that if I was to ask you what are the English people's rights to England, or the Scottish to Scotland, or the native Indians to America and the French to France, it is because they are the indigenous population, the natives of that place. So it is with the Jewish people. We are the natives, the indigenous population that have been there for over 3,000 years. And therefore, that is it is our homeland. Now, that doesn't mean that I believe, or the Jewish people believe, that it is exclusively the place for the Jewish people. We welcome, and to this day, there are many faiths that freely practice their faith and are welcome to come settle in the land, and they do so. And every year there are pilgrimages from people around the world that want to come to the holy places to be able to pay their respects and to pray. So if we fast forward to 1948, Jews, of course, were in Europe and America at that time predominantly. We had been kicked out by the Romans. You can look at the Arch of Titus and you'll see on the side of it etched the images of the Jews.